Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Yakkety Yak with James and Zach. I'm Zach,
And I'm James. Hello.
and this time we are talking about the Tomb of Annihilation set, the only Dungeons and Dragons set left in modern.
Indeed. And I think we're going to kick off. No, we're going to kick off with a discussion of whether we like draft packs. Is that
Yeah,
what
it was
we're
also the first set that featured the draft pack format,
doing?
and actually it exclusively came in draft packs, unlike the later Thor set.
Okay. I'm going to plug a USB key in, which is going to make it annoying. I'm sorry about that. That's for my mouse. There we go. So draft packs. What do you think, Zach?
Um, I I like the idea that you can't just bring any basic actions that you sort of normally play, and so everybody just brings, magic missile or betrayal or resurrection, and just kind of uses the same ones no matter what team they draft. And I've definitely seen drafts where people win by just buying magic missile and then they don't even buy the cards they drafted. But I also liked the strategy of having cards that you pass to the left and cards that you pass to the right, and so you could build a team based on two very specific cards instead of just kind of one and then hoping you get something else that goes with it.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's pros and cons. I'm going to be honest. I think I might be the only Dice Masters player who doesn't like draft that much. To be honest, no matter whether it's rainbow or draft packs. No, wait, draft packs are rainbow draft, the original or draft packs. It just it tips the balance in favor of randomness a little bit too much for me. I really like the balance between team building, strategy, responding to your opponent, and luck. And I don't like too much luck because you've seen my dice rolls. And when you draft, that's an extra luck element. I'm not saying it's not skillful because of course it is, but it just shifts the balance in favor of luck. It does also add another element of skill when you're actually drafting. Okay, fair enough, and
Mhm.
that is interesting. But for me, it's not my favorite format.
Yeah.
Um, and in terms of a comparison between the original and the draft packs, I agree. I liked passing it both ways. I missed that.
Yeah.
I do
I
also
do like
agree.
opening
Sorry.
draft packs, I think. Like, I mean, opening a display feed of draft packs versus opening a whole gravity feed of foil packs. I mean, there's something kind of nice about like knowing the rarities that you're going to get and kind of, being excited for the end of it versus like opening 10 packs in a row of only commons and uncommons. Um, but you only get to open 8 things instead of opening 90 things. So,
Yeah, I've opened in my life one gravity feed and one draft pack display, and the gravity feed was much, much, much more fun. But I don't know if that's because it was Guardians of the Galaxy versus Dungeons and Dragons, which is also not necessarily my favorite. And also, I got some good super rares in that gravity feed, and not so much. I got one bloody poxy
yeah, yeah.
monastery thing in the draft
Although if you're going to the store to try to find a super rare, you got a 1 in 8 chance with a draft pack versus a
pack.
1 in 45 chance with a gravity
I don't pick them up though, unlike you.
feed. Yeah,
I,
it's true.
I got
All
one
right.
this. Sorry, yeah, let's go. Okay.
Yeah. So it's been a while since we got to talk about basic actions because the last couple sets that we talked about didn't have any. But now we're back, and these ones did feature basic actions, and so we'll start with those. Starting off with Burning Hands.
Uh, hmm, Outside of draft, I'm not so sure about that, to be
Yeah,
honest.
it's so unreliable. Even in a draft, it's so unreliable that you get more than one damage at all.
Hmm.
And for a 4 cost action, it just feels like you just completely whiff on having any interesting energies.
It's got a double burst for morph on common. Mm.
Oh, that's true. But you
So
still have to have a mask to or a question mark to use it.
do you though? Deal one additional damage if you have a mass. Don't you? Because I was
Oh,
asking.
I guess you could still do it with the other ones. Yeah, I could see that. So it is one of like 10 double burst actions you could use with Morph in Modern, but
Okay.
it's still not even a reliable amount of damage there.
Candlekeep looked like it was going to be good, and you get a choice, which is nice. But then investigation came out, and it's just cheaper and better.
Yeah. Yeah, there were 2 different 4 cost actions, and Candlekeep combined both of them. But yeah, I mean, it's just I can't see you using this over investigation. It's so much easier to use.
Yeah. Cone of Cold is the next one. Reprint. It was good.
Yeah,
It was good
we
before. It's
probably
good.
don't have to talk too much about Conical because it's been around since like Battle for Faerun, and this is the 3rd time they've printed it. But that global is a standard favorite of mine. I really like with Overcrush characters or with my Captain America team, and the action is really good removal too.
Yep, and it costs 3, so that's good. Really new action was Cake. Create food and water. Better known as Cake.
People call it cake so much, I almost forgot that it was actually had a different name.
I think they should release a promo where it's actually called Cake.
Just actually called cake.
And then another one which is called Tea. Mm.
um, Ben Scott will try to talk you into using the action where you draw dice until you draw a non-sidekick die. Your bag is empty. Prep all dice drawn this way. If you can get it on turn 3, you can almost guarantee that you can prep like 4 dice, which is always really good. But then it's sort of one of those things where the longer the game goes, the less useful it is. A little bit like Big Entrance, and Big Entrance saw quite a lot of play. So
Yeah, fair enough.
there's that. But that global.
The global is like Resurrection, but you don't get to ramp with it. But you do get to reset your bag. Once per turn, draw a die, having paid 1 generic energy. Draw a die from your bag, return it to your bag, or add it to your use pile. It's also useful for bag resetting, and Patrick was using it on his sidekick team, right? How does that work?
Because the drawn die goes directly into your used pile. So if you want to use Professor X Global and that requires a sidekick in your used pile, then you can pay 1 generic. If you draw a sidekick, you put it directly into used, and now you can put it into the field. And that actually was pretty good. It takes an extra energy, of course, and you can only do it once per turn, but you can do it on your opponent's turn as well.
And it costs 3, not 4, like Resurrection. So all in all, a good package.
Yeah, true.
Guardian of Faith, more limited in its usage. It says it says a lot of text. Whenever you could use a global ability, you can send this die to the use pile to have target level 1 character, attacking character die considered blocked without assigning a character die to block it. And the burst and double burst is not limiting it to level 1, and it's continuous. So basically, it can sit in the field and be used to block something, which is extremely limited, except if you're thinking maybe about Hellfire Club. I think it's the uncommon with Fix It, so they wipe your entire field and Fix It is coming through. So that there's no way to remove continuous as it stands, is there?
I think the Rare Storm.
Okay.
This might be the only continuous basic action besides Gear. Because there are other continuous dice in Modern, although not very many, but this is a basic action.
Let's not bang on about it. It has it's useful also on your Captain America team, but otherwise, not so
there's
much.
a Clea from the Doctor Strange team pack. There's a very similar ability, and there's a ruling on it that applies to this as well. So I encourage you to look it up.
Not good for for stopping Overcrush.
Yeah, exactly.
Heavy armor, on the other hand, is very good for stopping Overcrush because it says you double your defense of a character which can be equipped, I assume. And the double burst says character dies engage with the equipped character lose and cannot gain Overcrush. So that would be handy versus an overcrushing proton cannon to Fix It, as long as you've got an equipable character.
Yeah, and the global pay shield target character gets +1 defense. We've played a lot of games where my characters get pinged off by magic missile. Maybe being able to save a shield, give it 1 extra defense, could make a big of a difference there.
Yeah, that's okay.
Not a lot of characters that people play very often that can be equipped, but more than you'd think, right? The battle stacks, we'll get to a lot of them right now. Well, all of them are going to be in this set.
Yanti.
A lot of Yanti specifically, right?
Although she's got 1 defense on 2 level.
But even then, they can't get Overcrush, so that's okay.
As long as they haven't got magic missile, which if they had Fix It, they would. Heist looks interesting. I haven't used it. It sounds fun to be able to force bag burn from Tabaxi Rogue upon your opponent, because they have to draw the dice from their bag.
I think this is the only card that forces your opponent to draw, because even other cards where you look at your opponent's bag, it says you draw a die from your opponent's bag. And typically you just have your opponent do it for you, but this one specifically says they have to do the drawing, and so Tabaxi Rogue deals damage to them. Otherwise, you get to take one of their die. Maybe you also get to prep a die for them. Unless you're running Tabaxi Rogue to deal them damage at the same time, I don't really see it.
Okay. Holy Avenger there was a magic sword, isn't it? Something similar to that in Battle.
This is a lot of a plus attack for 1 equipment, but it is a 4-cost action.
It does cost 4. Yeah. Well, it could see a use, I suppose. Improvised weapon definitely has had a use. I mean, there's always a use for a 1-cost a card or a basic action. It's very useful for attune boom teams, because you can buy you can buy 3 of them very cheaply, and the action itself is actually quite useful in combination with Yanti Common, which has attune. It says roll a die from your use pile. If it rolls a character face target character die, gets +X attack until end of turn, where X is the rolled face's attack. If it rolls an energy face, prep a die from your bag, return the roll die to your used pile. So as long as you've got something that you can roll in your used pile and not in transition, which is sometimes an issue.
Well, another reason why you might want the Create Food and Water Global.
Yeah, except you don't really want to buff with a side. Well, I suppose
Yeah,
okay, you might want to. You might actually want to prep something, in which case you might choose to roll a sidekick because it's more likely to come up energy.
true. I've done that when you have no other reason for using it. So yeah.
But if you've got a decent character, I know Joe was using Heimdall, who's got 6, 7, 8 attack. If you happen to have that in your use buff, that's quite handy. Um,
Yeah, true.
or if you can buy a Scarlet Witch for 3, and she's got 1, 3, 5. If it comes up on the 5 face, then suddenly you've got an 8 attack unblockable Yanti because if it's common, so very useful.
Yeah, yeah,
Bit of a gambler's card though, because it might not
yeah.
come.
Insect Plague. The action itself, I don't think I've ever actually bought and used. Maybe I'm just not using it to its full extent. But you draw every die in your bag, roll all NPC dice you drew. You may then re-roll any number of those NPC dice, field any of those dice that rolled a character face, place the rest in your use pile. So, in theory, a way to get a bunch of sidekicks out into the field. But also, I think the only draw effect outside of your clear and draw that lets you re-roll, which is kind of interesting. Um, and then you get to place rest in your use pile. So another way of putting things directly into your use pile from your bag, if you needed to, for example, use Heimdall Global to get sidekicks out of there, or somehow empty your bag. Maybe you have a bunch of sidekicks and you'd rather fill it, even if it so you have a chance of drawing something the next turn.
But
But
more
the
importantly,
global,
yep, go on.
yeah, pay a mask once per turn. Target sidekick die is unblockable until end of turn. As soon as I saw this card, I was really excited about the Foot Ninja that gets +1/+1 for every sidekicks, and I used that team, and I loved it. You make Foot Ninja unblockable. He's like a 10/10, and then a lot of ways to deal with him at the time.
And you loved it so much that you found a way to fix it unblockable by nowhereing him in for the 5 cost Jarvis, who is
Yeah,
an
no, I
ally.
love that combo. So even after they rotated, well, I guess he's still to be rotated, but after Foot Ninja goes away, there's still some interesting things you can do with it. A very fun action, a lot of shenanigans to be had.
Okay, let's like wrap up these basic actions. Magic Missile is Magic Missile and is extremely useful. I think
We've done that one.
go and check that
You
out.
see it.
Scorching Ray is it's just rubbish, isn't it? Is it rubbish? I don't know. I can't see it use case. Draw a die from
It's
your
Phoenix
bag,
Storm in action form.
which is also rubbish. Draw a die from
Yeah,
your
it's
bag,
true.
deal damage to target character die or player equal to its purchase cost. Return the die to your bag. We were talking about randomness earlier. That's too random for my liking.
Oh yeah.
And the promo, which is Brazen Pegasus, quite a good name. Up to 2 target character dice you control can only be blocked by 2 or more character dice. As you mentioned earlier, there was like a cheaper magic helmet which did something similar. I don't know. For 4, I'm not going to buy that for 4.
Yeah, I think the 4 cost is. I mean, maybe as a 3 cost, it's too powerful. But if your opponent's field is small, maybe you can use it to your advantage. But it seems difficult, and it doesn't make anything actually unblockable unless you can keep them with only a couple characters in the field or something.
We could be missing things, of course. I am. I tend to be very dismissive.
Yeah.
Of things which are not useful and competitive, as somebody pointed out in the comments last time, and B of things which maybe they're a bit costly, and I personally can't see the use of them, but other people do. So
Yeah, I feel like I try to run 4 cost actions every once in a while, unless they're like your win condition. I really have a hard time buying 4 cost actions because it's basically your whole turn at that point.
absolutely, yep. Okay,
Uh,
I've got the characters
okay.
up. So you wanted to start with Asamia, Ars. I'm a paladin.
Yeah, they really had to have a pronunciation guy with this because there's a lot that we're going to get wrong here. So the rare Asamar Paladin got experience. It's an adventurer. While Asamar Paladin is active, if there's an active opposing evil character die, your NPC character dice get +2/+1. +2/+1 is pretty good for a 3 cost, right? I mean, the only other one that did +2/+2 was that like Shannon Carter super rare that was at 6 cost or something, right? So sidekicks 3/2s is pretty powerful. Now they do have to have an evil character, and there's no way to give them the evil affiliation. But even in competitive, you're going to see possibly Battle Stack. You're going to see Common Yanti, as we just already talked about, and those are evil characters. And so it's not super unlikely that you'll run into one. In which case, you'll have a bunch of 3/2 sidekicks.
Okay. Next pronunciation problem is Acerarak. Or as I like to
There's a
call
lot of ers in that one.
Arcerarak. He's got a tune, which is never a bad thing. He does cost 6. He's a bulk character. While Acerarak is active, blah blah blah. We're looking at the global. Pay 1 once per turn. Reroll target action die in your reserve pool or field zone. So that's the closest we have to Parallax. It's only once per turn. It's only one action die, but it could, if you're doing a team like Lochier, it could make the difference between winning and not winning.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's the only thing we've got. It's not great compared to Parallax, but it might, it might save you.
This is especially in light of Scarlet Witch, obviously.
True, true.
Actually, the ability is not that bad. When you use an action die, the next evil character die you purchase this turn costs 2 less. I don't know if you've got an evil team. Let's.
The only evil characters I can consider using are all 2-cost evil characters, so it's really a 1 discount.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
But it could help, especially if you're playing theme, but not necessarily competitive.
Allosaurus not. Sorry, Alice. Sorry for the dinosaurs, but no.
I do like the rare Amber Golem.
Yep, go on.
So it's a golem. It's got Fabricate 2/5, which is an interesting purchase cost breakdown there. We've seen 2 4s, but anyway, when you purchase this die with Fabricate, gain 2 life. Always like to see life gain, and it's a pretty easy one to do. While Amber Golem is active, reduce the character die and purchase cost requirement of Fabricate abilities on your character cards by 1. So if you have a character with Fabricate 2/4, it becomes Fabricate 1/3, which is a little bit interesting. I played this in an achievement kind of tournament, but it makes it pretty easy to get a lot of dice, and most of the golems have pretty good stats. And they tend to have high fielding costs, but with something like Jim Gordon or Nick Fury, you could reduce the fielding cost, and then you've got a lot of like really cheap and really big characters. And it could definitely be a way.
Yeah, interesting ability. That's waiting for a use case, I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
We're going to skip Artus Simba. Sorry. Basilisk uncommon. No, I've clicked on the wrong. Oh, yeah, no, there is. Deadly. When Basilisk attacks target opposing character die, must block this turn. So you've got a combination of must block and deadly, so it's quite nice for removal. It does cost 4 with a bolt, but it's got decent stats.
Yeah, the fielding costs are the only thing about this, because you're probably going to get it knocked out, and you're going to want to get it back into the field, and it's just going to hurt you. And so I think if it had better fielding costs, this thing would be almost an include in a lot of really good teams.
It's a really nice picture as well. I know, it's a good monster. Batteries. We wanted to talk about. You should.
Yeah. So the common Battery battle stack. It's got Swarm. So it's a 2-cost Swarm. I really have a hard time buying Swarm characters that cost more than 2. I don't know about you, James, but I feel like if they cost more than 2, it's not really worth it anymore.
I don't really do Swarm very much, to be honest.
Yeah. So it's got a 2-cost Swarm, and it's a 0/0/1 fielding, so it's right in that sweet spot. And it gets +1/+1 for each other Battery battle stack character die in the field zone. Which I know you don't want to talk about draft, but in draft, when you can have more than 4 of these dice, can be pretty good.
Or if you doppelganger outside of draft, you can have 8.
True, that too. Or if you're playing against somebody who also has Battery battle stack, especially if they're playing a different rarity, because it does not say yours. But the nice thing about it is that early game, you can use it to swarm to get up to an expensive character like Fix It, which is the same energy type. And then late game, you can just put them in the field, get them out of your rotation, and then they're all like 5/5s.
Yeah,
and that for a 2 cost, that's awesome.
I can testify that's pretty brutal.
Yeah, it makes them hard to ping off. Because they're fists, you can use like upgrade proton cannon on them. So, they're not super powerful, but a 5/5 with overcrush for 2, come on.
Yeah, that's good. The other batteries are also good, but we're gonna pick that as our favorite because one of the other ones looked like it should see some use, but in the end, everyone chooses this one. I think.
Yeah, I think so.
That's my experience. Anyway. Birdsong, brief mention to the uncommon Birdsong, which is probably what Bard should have been, or maybe this is like a really weak version of Bard.
Yeah, right.
Maybe they need something somewhere in between, but yeah, it could be good. Could be good.
Yeah.
Can we skip pirates?
The pirate, like it's you read the first one or the uncommon, and it says gets +3 attack for each other different pirate you control, and you're like, yes, we're gonna make a huge, awesome, powerful pirate, and then you realize there's only one other pirate in the game, and so he's gonna get +3 attack.
I thought it would
it'd be really cool if there were a couple of other pirates and you could make really huge ones, but just no, they didn't even do that for us.
Yeah. Okay. There's the uncommon one of them, and. Okay, maybe they'll introduce. It's funny that it has the text on all of them. Captain, whatever, counts as a pirate. This text cannot be ignored. Damn, yeah. I was so hoping that I could ignore the fact. Is that alluding to something in future sets, or I don't know? What,
I mean, if you blanket with Shriek, are they still a pirate? I guess so.
All right.
Can't be ignored.
But then the other bit's ignored. the +3. So what would be the
Well, yeah,
point of
it's
being a
true.
pirate?
I mean, I don't know. Maybe if there were other pirates, then you can't blanket to get rid of the affiliation. Anyway,
You know,
maybe there'll be more pirates in the future, and then they will be super fun to play.
this is typical. I kick off by saying, "Can we ignore bloody
I
pirates?"
know,
And
right?
we talk about it for 5 minutes. Okay, Chwinga. Chwinga. There's a 1 cost, which has its downside, but it does cost 1. If you just
Everybody
want,
was really excited about the 1 cost, but I just don't see it.
I had it on my team briefly. I swapped it for the 2 cost in the end, but it's cheap bolts. If you want magic missile and fix it, it's not.
Yeah,
You don't have to use it for. Well, you're not going to use it for swarm. Let's be honest, but
yeah. Well,
because
that's
it
true.
has to attack. If Chwinga is on level 2 or 3, it must attack each turn, and if it's on level 1, it doesn't have
It's a
actually to.
0/1. Yeah.
But it
I
could be.
did. I did use the uncommon Chwinga on a Colossus, rare Colossus from AVX team, where all your character dice of level 2 or higher deal damage to your opponent, and so you use the uncommon Chwinga, and then you just field a sidekick, and all of them get to spin up for free. That was pretty fun.
Uncommon also good, especially on its lowest level. If you want to swap with Splinter's teachings, somebody's attacking you with some massive fix it or dragon, you just swap it for 0 attack.
Yeah, yeah, even better than 1. Yeah.
And the
Um,
rare is pretty good, but I don't have that, so we're not going to talk about it. Okay. It's
well,
got
the rare when it's KO'd by non-combat damage, prep a die from your bag. So the combo is you ping it for 1 with a magic missile, and then you get to prep 2 dice, which is pretty good for even if you're not using it for swarm. That's still pretty good.
Yeah, I think we should. We're on 21 minutes, Zach. So let's look at Doppelganger. Let's just say that Doppelganger is super confusing. Please read all the text about it. And as Ben said, you were told in school, don't copy. Let's leave it at that. Let's just not talk about Doppelganger. That's another video.
Yeah, a whole video. Yeah.
Okay, Dragonborn Sorcerer. Anything? Probably not.
Dragon Statue Trap, the common is interesting. If your opponent attacks you, you can pay X to deal X damage to all opposing character dice. The problem with it, of course, is that they can just decide not to attack you because you saved energy, and then you just have to save energy every turn.
I was just wondering
so
why I can't see statue traps because I clicked only characters.
Oh, gotcha.
That's all right. Dragonborn Sorcerer, no, he's got a tune. Okay, fine. There was one Elf Druid. That people were playing on the Yanti team. It's 3. It's got a tune. So
Yeah.
It's got experience. It's equipable. Let's move on. Sorry, that was
Benthaza. So this is the only thing like Kal-El Global that we have now. So the common, when fielded, you get to swap a character's attack and defense. You can't do crazy shenanigans after blockers are in it, but still, could be something interesting with Blob. Give them a lot of attack. The uncommon, all of your shield characters have attack equal to their defense, and as you may have noticed, shield characters tend to have a lot more defense than attack. But the fact that they're both when fielded makes it kind of hard to trigger, whenever you want to. And then the rare has a tune, and you can use action dice to give all of your characters +1 attack. So that's kind of an interesting thing to use as well.
Yeah, that could be good. I've not seen it have much play, but there's definitely potential there. I'll just a quick mention of Frost Giant. I mean, nobody's going to play it competitively, but while Frost Giant is active, opposing character dice cannot attack. Like that's a great ability.
Oh yeah.
Your opponent may pay 1 energy generic per character die to ignore this effect, but still 1 per character. I like that. But
that plus Bishop means you basically don't take any damage.
Oh, I think we can probably gloss over Gold Dragon. I don't know what kind of fool would play a card.
Yeah, what kind of fool would play a team based on Gold Dragon?
Yeah.
So that Breath Weapon 3 just happens to hit that sweet spot where a lot of really good characters in the game have 3 or less defense on all of their faces. And it's very frustrating. And it has a tune just in case you wanted to do a little bit extra.
And I literally always forget the tune because
yeah, right? Because the Breath Weapon 3 is the star of the show. It's also got pretty decent stats. There's a card that will combo with this very nicely coming up here very shortly.
I don't know what you mean. The other Gold Dragons are vaguely interesting. Anti-Breath Weapon X, I don't know. Are you going to include it just for that? You could. It's a 5 cost, so you can't use that other card that Zack mentioned.
Yeah. But the problem with Anti-Breath Weapon is exactly the same as the problem with Dragon Statue Trap, where, if you have Gold Dragon in the field, you can Breath Weapon 3. I can save 3 energy every single turn to prevent you from using Breath Weapon, but why? You're going to eventually kill me anyway.
Okay.
The uncommon is a better counter because when you use Breath Weapon, it deals it to you and all of your characters at the same time.
Yeah, that's not bad. Can we just skip over Goliath Fighter? I can't even be asked to read the text on it.
So dismissive of all the D&D. No, I don't think the Goliath Fighters are going to see a lot of competitive play.
Green Devil Mask.
Yeah,
Because is it the common? That's good.
it's the common.
Yeah. I'll read it. Trap. It's a trap. I'm not going to read that. Trigger. When your opponent has 4 or more active character dice. Effect. Your opponent must re-roll all of their active character dice. Move any that roll an energy face to their use pile. That's going to make for some sad faces.
Oh yeah. I have played against somebody who used this, and then all my characters came back. Like all of them came back. They were very sad about it. In that case, it eventually catches up with you, and you lose, about half your characters every time.
Right.
It's really, if you can leave it in the field when they have less than 4 characters, and then they have on their turn have to decide between fielding another character or possibly losing all of their field right before your turn starts. Oh, the timing on it is perfect.
That is gross. I'm going to shout out for the rare, which is trigger 3 or more of your character dice are KO'd during an opponent's turn. Effect, return all friendly character dice KO'd this turn to your field zone at level 3. Ostensibly useless, but then you think, ooh, hang on a minute, maybe people have got mass field clear with, what's it called, Hellfire Club, or
Breath Weapon 3.
Staff of the Forgotten Ones, or Breath Weapon, so that's not entirely useless.
And they don't have to be by the same effect, just as long as they're KO'd during their turn.
Right.
Yeah, I can see that being used.
Outlander, Human Outlander. Oh, we skipped the uncommon. I don't know what that does now.
I mean, it's +1/+1 for sidekicks, but it's too expensive.
Human Outlander rare is decent. When Human Outlander is KO'd, deal 2 damage to target character die or player. It's cost 4 though.
Yeah. Well, in a draft, this plus Fabricate is an awesome win condition.
Yeah.
The 0/1/2 fielding makes it really hard to pull off competitively, though.
Okay, let's push on. Kirsabal is the one super rare that I got in my display pack, and I'm refusing to talk about it. Okay, let's move on.
The only thing I can see might be helpful is that it says you move 2 sidekick dice from your use pile to the field zone. So not only do you have to have sidekicks in used, they're 3/3 characters, which is pretty cool, and then KO them at end of turn. So at the very least, when you use the action, you get to prep 2 dice.
Lovely.
Which for a 4-cost action is, we've had that before.
Send us a team which uses
I want to see it.
Okay.
I also have this action, and I've never used it, so I really would like it to be good.
One of the kobold traps. Okay, kobold traps cost 1, so that's what we said before. That's good. And the common says trigger an opponent fields a level 2 character die, and then the effect is choose one of your unpurchased character dice with a purchase cost of 2 or less. Move that character die to your field zone on its level 2 side. That's not bad, is it? You suddenly have stuff in the field,
and you get a free 2-cost character.
Yeah.
The rare lets you field a character with Swarm. I can see that, but you have to have it in your use pile, so it's a little bit harder to pull off. Yeah. And even if you don't have a character with Swarm in your use pile, you still trigger the trap, so you just nothing happens. Yeah. But Kobold Trap is interesting because you get a free Yanti or a free Boom Boom or a free Battle Stack, something in the field, and getting stuff for free is always pretty cool.
Free is always good, and avoiding the bag is also good, and avoiding having to roll stuff is also good. So,
yeah.
Poison Dart Trap, there's too much text and I don't understand them. But
rare, you can listen to the Doubleverse podcast, talk about the rare and how much they like that one. I'd be interested to see if it shows up.
Yeah, there's some good stuff for because I've been thinking about, mass field clear. Again, that could be useful. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
It might see some of these. Pseudo Dragon, 1 is a cheap mask if you happen to have an attuned character in the field, I think. That's the common one. And then maybe the more interesting one is a rare. While Pseudo Dragon is active, your attune character dice deal 2 damage with the attune ability. So that's pretty strong. That could see play.
It's double the damage, right? So
okay, Queen GRABSTAB. I don't know what to say. People were talking about her, but I've yet to see. No, maybe I saw her played once. What's good? Which one's good?
The rare Queen GRABSTAB. Opponents cannot target your character dice with purchase cost 2 or less with action dice or abilities. There was a Electra that also protected your character purchase cost 2 or less characters. But this one, more expensive, but protects it from both action dice and abilities. So I'm assuming global abilities as well as character abilities, which is a pretty good amount of protection, but only for your cheap characters. But you can make a pretty good team using only 2 costs.
Solid defense as well. She's got 8 on her top side of defense. And the uncommon people mention as doubling up Swarm. While Queen GRABSTAB is active, when one of your character's Swarm ability is triggered. One of your character's Swarm ability is triggered. Draw 2 dice instead of 1. Okay.
Yeah.
I
It
don't
seems a little bit, you got to reach for the forecast with the fielding cut. Well, 0-1-1 fielding, but you got to get the forecast out and then start swarming a lot. Unless you really need a lot of energy all the time.
Yeah.
Mostly when you're trying to do swarm, you just want to buy one or two big things, and then
Yeah.
you don't need to swarm so much anymore.
We've hit 30 minutes, so let's push on.
Yeah.
Ras Nsi. I don't know about the others, but the rare has seen some play. When you equip him, deal 2 damage to all opposing character dice. So if you had 2 of them in the field, and you can swap. I don't really know how equipment works because I don't use it. But you can swap it. You can swap at the beginning of each turn. You can swap one equipment from one Ras to the other. Is that how it works?
Yep.
Which
That
means
will be 4 damage to all opposing character dice.
that's pretty good field clear, and you can do it at the beginning of your opponent's turn.
Exactly.
Yeah. Better. Okay, so that's pretty
good.
good.
And then they can't re-roll those that turn, so you can make some pretty good things.
That's shenanigans.
Yeah.
That's pretty decent. Super. Yeah. Okay. Red Dragon just doesn't. It's not the Red Dragon of old, is it?
It's not. Yeah, it doesn't have Breath Weapon 3 on any of its rarities, which is interesting.
There isn't one there that I love. The Paragon does extra damage if the defending player has no active character dice. Red Dragon's Breath Weapon deals an additional 2 damage to that opponent. I assume that's before.
Come on, the defending player has no active character dice. You probably win with your 8/8 Red Dragon.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. Let's skip that and move on to the Ring of Winter. Again,
I don't know if anyone would ever play that.
I can't imagine what kind of loser would play a card like that. It says
2-cost bolt, but let's pretend like WizKids made a smart decision and made it a 4-cost bolt instead, and then I would consider actually supporting.
I will say this is officially for me the most beautiful card in the game, and that is why I actually bought it on store credit. I don't buy many things like that, but I had to have it because it was pretty, and it turns out to be quite useful.
It's very pretty, yeah.
It says move each dragon character die in your used pile to the field zone at level 3. That's quite strong because it's another one of these things that evades having to use the bag or cycle things or even roll them, and that for me is a
or
winner.
pay fielding costs.
Yeah. That's a good thing. Not rolling, always good. And the global pay a bolt once per turn. The next die you purchase with purchase cost 6 or more costs 2 less, so you end up paying basically 1 less as long as you've got a bolt and the required energy for the character.
They forgot about the part where it says pay bolt and KO a character, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Yeah, they did forget. But it's restricted.
So it just basically makes 6 costs more characters cost 1 less. So
I can't imagine who would want to do such a thing.
Yeah.
Silver dragons, they have the lower ones have anti-breath weapon, which may be useful, and the rare one, while silver dragon is active, dragons cost 2 less to purchase. Obviously, great on a dragons team.
Yeah.
In very modern, though, we're a bit short on cheap dragons. So
true, yeah. And golden, that plus the rare half dragon makes all your characters cost 4 less, and that's very fun to play.
That's good. Skeleton Key is cheap and it has decent stats, and the rare does something useful, doesn't it?
Rare does +1/+1 for each trap die in the field zone. The common lets you move a trap die in the field zone to its owner's use pile. So that's a way of removing traps. But they ruled that if it was the 4th character and your opponent had Green Devil Mask out, it would still get to trigger Green Devil Mask. And so that kind of removes a lot of the usefulness from that skeleton key, I think.
Let's put it's good stats though for a 2-cost.
Yeah.
Soulmonger, I don't know. Probably there might be shenanigans there, but we should.
Yeah, I don't have it, so I'm going to play with it. But yeah, it is a very weird action.
Yeah. Staff of the Forgotten One. You've got that.
Yeah. Till end of turn, when an opposing character die is damaged, KO it. So any amount of damage at all. And so obviously you're looking for lots of ways where you can just deal 1 damage to all of their characters. And it specifically only works on opposing characters, not your own. So it's better than the we talked about in the last video.
That's a rich man's danger room.
Oh god, it's so. I mean, they have 8 defense. Doesn't matter. 1 damage will KO them.
Yeah, that's strong.
And then double burst. Also until end of turn, if you KO 2 or more character dice, prep 2 dice from your bag. So just for removing characters anyway, you get a little bit of prep. It's really good.
In the interest of time, I'm going to keep us pushing on. Stone golems, like the golems of old, could be useful, but let's not bang on about it. Tabaxi Rogue, common. While Tabaxi Rogue is active, when an opponent draws, and surely it is Tabaxi, isn't it? When an opponent draws, sorry Joe, draws a die, other than during their clear and draw step, Tabaxi Rogue deals them 1 damage. Very useful against things like Spot, Investigation Ramp, and Mimic, Professor X, Psychic Ramp. And it's got a global pay 2 once per turn. Both players prep a die from their bag. So it's one of the 3 ways we have of resetting our bags because you get to draw. Is that right?
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I mean, you prep it for your opponent, but if it's active, obviously you get to do them a damage as well. But where it could be really useful is if they're trying to Heimdall global, and so they're saving 4 dice in their bag, and then you just force them to draw one, and then they don't get to.
That's
Yeah,
annoying.
that could be. Yeah, it's a little tricky to pull off. It could maybe, but I don't. That the ability though, if they're relying on drawing a lot of dice, it could really seriously burn them down pretty quickly.
I'm going to skip through Toon Dwarf and go straight for the very briefly Tomb Guardian rare. It's
Yeah,
interesting. Haven't seen it used, but it's got Fabricate 2/3. You may KO 2 character dice with the total purchase cost of 3. Blah blah blah. While Tomb Guardian is active, global abilities cost an additional 1 to use. Could be
I
handy.
have actually seen this used. It's pretty easy to get in the field. Fabricate 2/3 is that's cheap. I mean, that's a 3 cost and a sidekick. And it's like the old Oracle, except it also affects you and your global ability.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't want to use it on a team where you need to rely on them as well. But a pretty helpful thing to have out.
And it's got recolored flesh column dice, and I like flesh column.
That's true.
Paragon, what is it? Tyrannosaurus, T-Rex zombie. While
Oh,
Tyrannosaurus.
well, Super Triceratops first.
Oh,
Just
sorry.
briefly, could possibly be useful for keeping your opponent's field clear. It's while Triceratops is active, when an opponent fields a level 1 character, deal damage to that equal to the attack of your active Triceratops character die with the highest attack. So it's if you have Triceratops out and they field a level 1 character, they're going to take either 3, 4, or 6 damage based on the highest level Triceratops you have in the field. And I think we can say confidently that there are no 1-cost characters in Modern that have more than 6 defense. Is that? Am I safe saying that, James?
You mean level 1 characters?
Yeah.
Sounds good. Yeah, sounds believable.
Yeah. So you might be able to keep them from ever being able to field level 1 characters, and that could obviously be useful.
T-Rex zombie. While Tyrannosaurus zombie is active at the start of your turn, field an NPC die from your that's a sidekick to you from your use pile. While Tyrannosaurus zombie is active, your NPC sidekick character dice are considered 2 attack and 2 defense zombies. Only their name and attack and defense values change. I am sure there's space for that in the meta. That's a fun potential.
Yeah, put Mimic in the field, and then you get a free sidekick every turn to prep with.
Yeah.
I mean, the wrong time, but obviously you'd get them on the next turn to roll. But then you get 2 sidekicks.
Okay, we're going to try and wrap this in under 40 minutes. So let's Super Valindra.
Yeah. Opposing non-evil character dice get -1/-1. So your opponent cannot field sidekicks anymore. There are a lot of characters that have at least 1 face with 1 defense on them. So they just, as long as they're not evil, they just can't field them anymore. But also, if you're going to run something with the Overcrush, then fewer defense across all their characters. A lot of ways that can be useful. And then Energy Drain 2 just means that if they attack or block, they get to spin them down 2 levels. So
that's an
you can sort of force things to be level 1.
Oppressive card and
yeah,
good defense as well. Swiftly, I've got a soft spot for Zandala Simba, Seeker of the Ring, the uncommon. She's got a tune, she's got really good defense, she's 3 bolt, and when she would be KO'd, instead clear all damage from her if your opponent has any active good character dice, such as a gold dragon, let me point out.
Or the old Dwarf Wizard, back when we used to play this, yeah.
Yeah, but it's going to stop breath weapon. Well, it's not going to stop the breath weapon, but it will remain in the field.
That's true, yeah.
So, I'm just pointing that out. Just pointing that out. The anti-abomination I'm refusing to talk about because it's a snake.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
But the Yanti Pureblood, I mean, we talked about a lot of characters that have good things on all 3 of their rarities. This is probably the best one case in Tomb of Annihilation. Any of the Yantis are good. The common has a tune and is unblockable if you use actions, and so obviously you can use actions like improvised weapon to buff them, and then it becomes even more oppressive.
Yeah.
The uncommon has a tune and can't be targeted by action dice or global abilities, which is pretty good. And then that super rare, which ran the game for quite a while, when you purchase an action dice, trigger the attune ability of all active character die. And so this was just used to, fill your field with even only like 2 or 3 attune characters, and then you just, every time you buy an action, you get to deal them a bunch of damage. It's not without cube.
Yeah,
but
rare cosmic cube
possibly
ban nerfs that a bit, but yeah, with a pseudo dragon, that could be all right.
Yeah, and being able to use your attune ability to target not only your opponent but their characters, you could use this for some pretty mass removal with some 1-cost actions, and they don't have to be basic actions. So a couple ways you could still use that.
Okay, and to finish with, zombies are cool. I think Laurier had some kind of shenanigans with, I think it was the rare, which says when you field a sidekick, I'm going to just translate sidekick, you may roll a zombie in your use pile. If you roll a character face, KO the fielded sidekick character and field the rolled zombie character die for free on the face you rolled. If you roll an energy face, return. Jesus Christ, that's the sort of thing that only Laurier could pull off.
It's very thematic, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if we're going to be able to find the use for that.
It's a good picture as well. And zombies are always good. Anyway, so that's my God, we managed to get through it.
The Tomb of Annihilation set, the only D&D set currently in the new modern.
Thank you very much for listening. We hope you found that in some way useful. Please let us know if we've forgotten anything. We did skip quickly through quite a lot of them, so I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, it's true.
And we'll see you next time for the last set, which is currently out before rotation, hopefully, which is Thor, right?
Yeah, the Mighty Thor. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.